Karuna Matimba Aina Maibuye Africa Maibuye Africa. Thank you very much. Sizobiza umama asivulele ngomthandazo. Our second prayer. Sicela umama umfundisi ukuthi azosivulela ngomthandazo. Mandla.
In our language, we say Tinotenda. I am proud to be a Zimbabwean, and I am here representing my father. I decided to be a pastor because I was grounded on the roots of knowing God as a young woman, as a teenager, as a young old child. But I want to thank God today that I have come here to say a prayer for my father, just to say that he must rest in peace. And I want to thank you for what you have done for our country. We will pray nothing but what is written in the Word of God. The Lord taught us that we shall not pray anything else, but we will pray according to the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33. It says that when you pray, you shall pray, Our Father who art in heaven. For the Lord knows what you want to ask for. Whatever you are thinking, He says He knows. So therefore, close your door, your own closet, and pray this prayer. So that's the prayer that I'm going to make today. Shall we pray? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, and teach us to forgive and forget all those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Mandla away two. Mandla away two. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Pastor Gracious Mbewe. We will now move on to have a formal welcome from our chairperson of Gauteng, Commissar Mandisa Mashego. Long live chairperson, long live.
Pambirine Hondo, Pambirine Chimurenga. Amandla. Long live the EFF, long live. Long live the EFF in Africa, long live. Long live the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Silo Malema, long live. Long live the Deputy President, Commissar Floyd Chivambu, long live. Long live the National Chairperson, People's Advocate, Commissar Dalimpofu, long live. Long live the Secretary General, Commissar Gotish Gardi, long live. Long live the Deputy Secretary General, Commissar Hlengiwe Mkalipi, long live. Long live the Treasurer General, Commissar Leanne Mateis, long live. Amandla. Thank you very much, National Chairperson. It's going to be a very brief one. As usual, my job is to welcome everyone here present. I'd like to specifically welcome the entire forces of Soweto, ground forces, and the community of Soweto. Thank you very much for your presence. I'd like to welcome the entire Provincial Command team members who are present here, specifically our 5 commissars who are our deployees from the Central Command team to Gauteng. We say thank you for your presence. I'd like to welcome the Provincial Secretary, the officials of the Provincial Command team of Gauteng, and all Provincial Command team members. Welcome all regional leadership, the regional chairpersons and secretaries of the 5 regions of Gauteng. You are all welcome, and welcome all other branches that may be here joining us in Soweto today. And particularly, I'd like to welcome all stakeholders that may be visiting us from other organizations within Zimbabwe, as well as here in South Africa. And if there are any representatives from the ZANU-PF, you are all warmly welcome to our esteemed memorial service of the EFF led by the Commander-in-Chief, and also welcome members of the media and welcome any other members and any other stakeholders that I may not have specifically individually recognized. You are all welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks, National Chair. Amandla.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Watinta bafazi, watinti mbogoto, watinta bafazi, watinti mbogoto. Thank you very much. Now we are going to call on some of our esteemed visitors who came to grace this occasion. All the way from Zimbabwe. The first person that I'm going to call is a person who will be representing the family. His name is Patrick Zuwao, and he's a former Minister of Indigenization in Zimbabwe. He has been persecuted, and he will explain his relationship. But he is the nephew of our late hero, Comrade R.G. Mugabe. Comrade Patrick.
Amandla! Amandla! Maita yenyu. Pamsoroi. Pamsoroi, Commander-in-Chief, Comrade Malema, Pamsoroi, Command Structure of the Economic Freedom Fighters. My name is Patrick Joao. I was a member of the Politburo of ZANU-PF. I was expelled from ZANU-PF when the army took up arms against our liberator and icon, President Mugabe. Together with some of the comrades that are here, we chose to stand with President Mugabe. And I would like to share with you why we chose to stand with President Mugabe. Yes, I am his nephew. Yes, my mother was his sister. But what is important is what we have learned from comrades here, from Comrade Kasukuwere, Comrade Mashaya Mombe, Comrade Mashange, and all the other comrades that are here. Comrades here present, I recall when Comrade Malema and his executive of the ANC Youth League visited us in Harare. We were given specific instructions by President Mugabe that despite protocol, we must make sure that we receive them in the same way that heads of state are received in Zimbabwe. We broke protocol and made sure that the ANC Youth League had a police escort. When President Mugabe realized that Comrade Malema and his team would leave Zimbabwe before he came back from the OAU, he cut short his visit because he needed to be able to speak with the delegation. We were at State House with President Malema, with President Mugabe and Commander-in-Chief Malema and his team. They were supposed to go to the airport. President Mugabe said, no, they cannot catch that flight. Organize another flight for them later on. When Comrade Malema and his delegation came back to South Africa, they were hounded and chased out of the ANC because they came to see President Mugabe. And they resonated with what President Mugabe talked about when President Mugabe said that the next struggle will be the economic liberation of Africa in our lifetime. So, as a nephew of President Mugabe, I will accept President Mugabe's membership of the EFF. When President Mugabe decided that he was going to retire, he spoke with Comrade Kasukuwere. And he tasked Comrade Kasukuwere and some of us to start organizing presidential youth interfaces, during which President Mugabe would explain to the people of Zimbabwe that him and his generation were in the sunset of their lives, and that the next liberation would be waged by young people. And because President Mugabe stood for young people, some of his colleagues who he fought with, would not be able to recognize that young people are the future of Africa, that young people will liberate Africa economically. They chose to take arms against President Mugabe, because President Mugabe was committed to pass the torch on to young people so that young people can liberate Africa economically. When President Mugabe was deposed, some of the comrades that are now wanting to stand and pontificate over his funeral refused to acknowledge him. They tormented him. They made him suffer. And the family decided that we could not continue to allow him to watch the news every day in Harare as the likes of Opamuchinguri, Mabel Chinomona, Matema Danda called President Mugabe a traitor. Why do they want to pontificate over him? You did not want him in ZANU-PF. He is wanted here in the EFF. President Mugabe went to Singapore and he was staying in a rented house in Singapore. He was not in hospital. However, 5 days before he passed on Sunday, his condition deteriorated. When his condition deteriorated, he was taken to hospital. President Mugabe was in hospital for 5 days before he passed on. President Mugabe effectively was tormented by ZANU-PF. He was tormented by the regime of Emmerson Mnangagwa. President Mugabe said, and I quote, "Zimbabwe is where I was born. Zimbabwe is where I will die. And Zimbabwe is where he will be buried." That's what he said. But President Mugabe did not die in Zimbabwe because of Emmerson Mnangagwa. When President Mugabe spoke with members of the family, members of his immediate family, his wife, his children, he gave them specific instructions on what must happen at his funeral and at his burial. I spoke this morning with Amai Mugabe. She instructed me to issue a statement, to disseminate a statement that she and the immediate family had put together. The statement is that they are being coerced by Emmerson Mnangagwa to ignore President Mugabe's wishes on where his mortal remains should be interred. I call upon you, Commander-in-Chief. I call upon you to help the family recognize, have the wishes of President Mugabe be recognized. President Mugabe, it demands of us that we make sure that President Mugabe is able to rest in peace. President Mugabe is able to rest in power. It is not possible that Emmerson Mnangagwa and his henchmen can pontificate over President Mugabe. I thank you.
Karuna. Thank you very much, Comrade Patrick. Before I call on our next speaker from Zimbabwe, I also want to emphasize what the comrade was saying. Those of us who were involved in the struggle in the 80s were inspired by Comrade Mugabe. You know, when people struggled here in the 60s and 70s, it was one day there'll be freedom, but we had never seen this freedom. But in 1980, when we saw Robert Mugabe taking over power and defeating Ian Smith, we knew that it was possible. That is why the decade of the 80s was the decade that finally crushed the apartheid racist regime, because we could see that it could be done. So we want to thank you, comrades of ZANU-PF, and comrades like Robert Mugabe and Joshua Nkomo are what inspired the struggle in this country. Amandla. My next speaker is going to be another former commissar in the ZANU-PF Central Committee, and another former minister, our comrade Xavier Kasukuwere, that was mentioned here earlier. Comrade Xavier.
Amandla. Amandla. Ilizwe. Ilizwe. Viva African, viva EFF, viva. Forward with Comrade Julius Malema, forward. Forward with the leadership of the EFF, forward. Abasha imperialism. Thank you very much, comrades. The CIC and the President of the EFF, Comrade Julius Malema, Comrade Floyd Chiwambu, the Vice President, our National Chairman, Advocate Dalim Pofu, the leadership of the EFF here present. My dear brother has just spoken to us, Honorable Patrick Joao. I'm also accompanied, in fact our team, there is Comrade Shadrach Mashaya Mombe, who was a Member of Parliament. We have with us Comrade Mashange, Honorable Mashange, who was a Member of Parliament. And indeed we have our sister who blessed this occasion. Thank you very much, my dear sister, the pastor. Indeed, today is not an easy day for many of us. But let me take this opportunity to thank, first and foremostly, Comrade Julius Malema and this important family of the EFF. When I had a chat a few days ago with Comrade Malema, he said to me, Comrade Tyson, we are having the memorial service of the late President Mugabe. I was in Singapore, and he said, you must be here. We are here where it matters most. This kind of gathering is happening in Soweto, where the people genuinely loved President Mugabe. There is no such gathering in Sandton. There is no such gathering in the affluent suburbs in South Africa and anywhere else in Africa. Because what he stood for resonates with us who are here today. Resonates with the EFF. Resonates with the revolutionaries who want a different Africa. The young men and women in our country, in our region in Africa, who want a new future for themselves. They want to be part and parcel of the economy. The challenge we have, Comrade Malema, is what I call political assimilation. When political leaders are chosen from amongst us, the moment they come into contact with the WMCs, they forget about the poor people. They have a different story. It's all about what kind of projection, how am I viewed by Western imperial capital? If you talk to anybody who gets into power, the moment they start buying cufflinks, nice bow ties, nice suits, Gucci perfumes, they forget about the people of the EFF who are here in Soweto. You ask yourselves, when you are chosen to be president, President Mugabe, was chosen by the poor people in our country to be president. Hence, what he stood for made those with the riches angry with him. The moment you see yourself becoming acceptable to Western capital, just stand back and say, hey, comrade, where am I selling out now? What is the problem? What have I done? We choose leaders, African leaders, to lead us. The moment he gets into the office, he starts thinking about, how will I be viewed in London? What is capitals of cash in New York saying? Washington. But the people who chose you are in Soweto, they are not in Washington. Let's first of all answer to the aspirations of the people in Soweto, not in Washington. I hope, Comrade Malema, the lessons that we've gone through in our country And I thank you for remembering this gallant son of Africa. He belonged. He was the son of the soil. He was not scared. When it came to taking our land, this Madala was not scared. Bob was not scared. Bob was not scared. Bob was not scared. He said the principal grievance why we went to war was the land. And he simply said, take the land. And he was a very stubborn old man. He would be moving around. He said, hey, Madala, are you not scared? The whites are angry. He says, angry about what? Here I was born, here I shall die, and here I will be buried. Let the land come back to the masters, those who own their land. If President Mugabe was a coward, would still be negotiating about how the terms to which we'll get the land, we'll be having discussions and meetings about when and this. Not this man. Yes, it has brought tremendous suffering to our country. But comrades, never you sacrifice the principle on the altar of expediency. It is the foundation that he has laid for us, he has laid for Africa, where we call upon leadership like Comrade Malema. Let's build the economic independence of our people from what these old men have done. Those old men who were not scared to go in prison for 11 years, he was there. He lost his child whilst in prison. He never gave up. He was harassed. He left the country, went to live in Mozambique. He never gave up. He led Zanla forces from Mozambique. He never gave up. He was insulted. He had degrees taken away from him, which had been given by the British. He said, for as long as I'm doing the right thing for my people, I will not turn back. I'll give my people land, doesn't matter. Today, the EFF is saying, well done. Comrade Malema, leadership does not require cowards. If you are a coward, get out of the kitchen. If you are a coward, get out of the kitchen. You spoil our food in the kitchen. Amadoda civili is what we require in the kitchen. Men of steel, women of steel, who will say, this is where we want to go. Africa, if we are going to have our economy and control it, we don't want people who are scared. We have in our country now, they are busy reversing empowerment laws to make who happy. I know we want all foreigners to come and invest in our country. Did we ever ask for a foreign leader to come back and take over from Mnangagwa? If you want us also to look, no, we need somebody who can do better. Let's see, hire George Bush or let's hire Trump to run Zimbabwe. No, we believe in you as a black man. Believe in me as an economic fighter. If we have a leadership that does not believe in black people, hey, comrades, they must just go, man. We are sick and tired. My wife is black. My doctor is black. I am black. My farmer is black. Why should I compromise? Why do you need me to waste my time? When I die, I get buried by the people who are also black. It's the time, Comrade Malema, we turned around and say, they own the country, let's empower them. The minerals of South Africa, we can't continue talking about, our quotas, we need to arrange quotas. No, men, comrades, these are ours. God brought me as a black man to Africa. That's why I'm black. You have your own territory. I have not come to yours to eat from you. You want to come and eat from me and say, no, man, just relax. Don't destabilize him. He's a very nice man. I also want to eat. Don't disturb me when I want to eat. So young people here, members of the EFF, the job to liberate Africa begins now. We do it because It is right for us to do it. I'm saying this, I know I'll be in big trouble. But trouble is now what I'm looking for. I'm actually now going around looking for trouble. Because if you become too nice, you have a problem. I'm looking for trouble. My brother will tell you when I was a youngster, I did some of the things that nobody can ever do. I took a little stick. There was a mango tree in our homestead. And there were these bees, a huge beehive. I said, hey, this thing is stopping us from eating these mangoes. I attacked that beehive. Next thing I was in hospital. But I survived. If I could survive those bees, let's fight again. We will survive another fight. So, Comrade Julius, I want to thank you very much, my dear brother. If you ask me about the story of the EFF and this formation, I know it from A to Z. I was there with this young comrade. This man is a strong man. I know what he went through. I know the pain he went through. If he was a man who was scared, by now the name Julius Malema would be finished completely. Comrade Julius Malema, for what you have done for Comrade Mugabe, you know he said to you, Kasukwere, you must take Comrade Julius and the leadership to the Victoria Falls. One day we shall go and enjoy in Victoria Falls. We owe you to you guys. What this old man stood for. And I heard our national chairman sing to us the national anthem. I think it was sung by Ntsonga from the Methodist preacher who came up with the Santanga. Ishe Komborera Africa. The EFF, don't give up. The EFF, don't give up. The EFF, don't give up. We are waiting for a signal, Comrade Malema. We now don't know how to treat them. Daddy has gone. He should just have told us how we're going to handle some of these sellouts. Those who are now trying to turn back against him. Those who are now trying to bury him when they never wanted him. How do you remove somebody using your army and say he's our hero tomorrow? Come on, go to hell. You are lying to us. You never wanted him. They said, I wanted to remove President Mugabe. They said I must be removed from the party's national commissar. I said never. Within 4 weeks, we saw exactly who wanted to remove President Mugabe. They have no principles. Mugabe, the Western world failed. Everybody else wanted to bring him down, failed. Who brought him down? It is those disciples. The 12 disciples Jesus had, one of them had to plan against him. Amandla! Viva EFF, viva! Ilizwe! Umhlaba! Thank you very much, comrades.
Tata Juju Tata. Tata Juju Tata. Mandla. Umhlaba. 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 Phansi abathengisayo phansi. Phansi Ramaphosa phansi. Phansi Magashule phansi. Away ANC away. Thank you very much. At this stage, I think we need to sing our new favorite song. Sizonifundisa abangayazi. Yini socialism umhlaba wonke sandleni saba akunamuntu yini socialism umhlaba wonke sandleni akunamuntu ayesaba man, ayesaba mapushwa, oh, ngoba efuna. Ayesaba man. Ngobefuna in socialism akunamlungu in socialism akunamuntu oh wayesaba ma oh babefuna bayesaba ma. Forward to socialism, forward. Forward to socialism, forward. Down with capitalism, down. Phansi Ramaphosa nabaphathi bakhe phansi. Phansi Rupert Ramaphosa Alliance phansi. Keruna. Matla. Thank you very much. Now we're getting close to the main event. I'm going to call our Deputy President, Floyd Nyiko Shibambu, to introduce our CIC. Long live the Deputy President, long live! Long live the Deputy President, long live! Mandla!
Amandla! Viva the EFF! Viva! Long live the fighting spirit of Comrade Robert Mugabe! Long live! Long live the fighting spirit of Gushungo! Long live! Amandla! Pamberi Nehondo! Pambere! Pambere Chimurenga! Pambere! Pansi imperialism! Pansi! Amandla! Away two. A chairperson in Shona, they say Ndotendas Vikuru chairperson. So we want to say thank you very much to the chairperson for the program thus far. We had thought that before we introduce the commander-in-chief, we should speak about the two commissars that spoke here. These are the pioneers of the struggles to really emancipate economically the people of Zimbabwe. So Comrade Patrick Zhuao and Xavier Kasukwere, his name is Tyson. They are the ones who pioneered the Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Act in Zimbabwe, which said that now that we have got the land, we must take charge of the economy of Zimbabwe. The Indigenization Act of Zimbabwe was to say that in all other businesses, whether it be banks, whether it be mines, whether it be retail stores and the factories, if you want to do business in Zimbabwe, at least a minimum of 51% must belong to the people of Zimbabwe. So these two commissars, they rose in the ranks of ZANU-PF up until the Politburo of ZANU-PF and were leading that struggle. So at the time when Xavier Kasukwere was the Minister of Youth and Indigenization and Economic Empowerment, Patrick Zhuao was his Deputy Minister. But throughout that period, they've played different responsibilities. Zhuao was a Deputy Minister of Science and Technology. He was a Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. And he had a thorough understanding of the tasks that Zimbabwe had to confront at that time. But also he has acquired degrees. He has got 2 degrees from the university, the bachelor's degrees from the University of Zimbabwe, and 4 master's degrees, because they appreciated that they must take their struggles forward. Outside of being a minister of indigenization and economic empowerment, Xavier Kasukwere was also the Minister of Environment, Water, and the Climate. When the coup d'etat happened in 2017, Xavier Kasukwere was the Minister of Local Government, Rural Development, and National Housing. And he was the political commissar in the Politburo of ZANU-PF. So the old guard had wanted to push him out of ZANU-PF because they were creating a conspiracy that he wants to succeed President Mugabe. It could have been a correct succession if it had happened in that way. So these are the correct pioneers of the struggle who understood what had to happen in Zimbabwe. We also have got Tongai Kasukwere, who was the leader of ZANU-PF Youth here with us, and the leadership that has already been acknowledged when we announced everyone, including the political commissar from Harare, Shadrach Mashaya Mombe. So he is part of the delegation that is here today to commemorate and celebrate the life of Gushungo. So my task, fighters, is very simple. I'm here to introduce the commander-in-chief. I'm here to introduce a revolutionary whom we can count in the same lines as Ben Bella, as Patrick Lumumba, as Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, as Thomas Sankara, whom we can count a great Pan-Africanist in the same line as President Robert Mugabe. Comrades, fighters, ladies and gentlemen, we introduce to you the Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Comrade President.
Amandla. Viva EFF, viva. Long live the undying spirit of Robert Mugabe, long live. Long live the undying spirit of Robert Mugabe, long live. Thank you very much, leaders of the revolution, our comrades from Zimbabwe, led by Comrade Tyson and Patrick, our leaders in the country, leaders of the Central Command Team, DP, SG, National Chair, Chairperson and Secretary of the Province, Chairperson and Secretary of Regions, and your RCTs and the PCT, the community of Soweto, the people of Africa, all Zimbabweans who are here today and those who are not here. I greet you, sons and daughters of the African Revolution. Comrades, we gathered here today to salute one of our own. We gathered here today in Soweto as a generation of African revolutionaries in pursuit of a generational mission of realizing economic freedom in our lifetime. This mission is our response to the burning historic fires in our bellies, the distant cries over centuries that are resounding in our hearts about a terrible crime against humanity of the African child. We are those who have dismally failed to ignore this fire. We have refused to shut our ears against those distant cries. We are unable to live as if African dehumanization will resolve itself. Ours is a mission that directly, without apology, continues the liberation of the African people from colonial domination and conquest as launched by European white over 4 centuries ago. This is the well-defined mission by the founding African ancestors that Africa must unite, be self-sufficient, and that all its people must be in charge of their elective destiny without supervision of Europe and its white supremacists. It is our mission about the African people wherever they are in the world, resisting any usage of the color of their skin as a means of their oppression, as a means of zombifying them. It is essentially an anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist mission, anti-racist, anti-sexist mission which must be executed by any revolutionary means possible. We are here today to remember against forgetting, to pay tribute to the life and times of a man who was defiant when it was not fashionable to do so. Fellow compatriots, a towering figure of this revolution, our revolution, President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the father of Zimbabwe, service also coincided with the anniversary of Steve Biko, who today was brutally murdered by apartheid police whilst in custody in 1977. We must salute and never stop to say the name and the ideas of Steve Biko, key amongst which is the fight to free our minds from the chains of colonial and white domination. It is Biko who teaches us that the most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. There is no other time when this statement has been so important than in this very occasion of the memorial service of Robert Mugabe. In remembering Mugabe, we have this important task to perform, to free our thoughts about Mugabe that have been sponsored by the enemies of our revolution. In remembering Mugabe, we must free the mind of an African child from the narrative created by the Western archives of history that will make us to hate Mugabe, because to hate him is to hate ourselves. So in the name of Steve Biko, in the name of black consciousness, we call up the black child to free your mind from the hands of ENCA, BBC, CNN, Fox News, white monopoly-owned publications who are trying to make you hate your own liberators and worship your oppressors. We have therefore gathered to remember Mugabe on our own terms, to remember against forgetting, to speak truth to dominant Eurocentric sponsored narrative against his admirable, brave, and very strong legacy. We are here to pick up the baton, to renew and to revive our vows that as long as we live like Robert Mugabe, we shall never compromise the demand for a total liberation of African people. We are here to identify with him in death as we identified with him in his living days. We are the descendants of Robert Mugabe, the children of Robert Mugabe, the successors of this stubborn old man, the man who fought against imperialism. In the name of President Mugabe, who died at a godly age of 95, we vow to continue the struggle in the same fearless manner he did. Fighters, you are not in a memorial service, but in a history lecture, because when you celebrate the life of a 95-year-old revolutionary, it's a reflection of our history. Where do we come from? Where are we? And where are we going? We are gathered here in Orlando, east of Soweto, to say we are Robert Mugabe and he is all of us. Not just in Zimbabwe, but even here in Soweto, South Africa. We are here today to celebrate the life of the founding father of an independent Zimbabwe, the life of an anti-colonialist, anti-imperialist who refused to bend the knee when faced with the harsh consequences. We are here to salute the life of Gushungo. We are here to celebrate the legacy of President Robert Mugabe. Fellow fighters and Africans, we must know that the act of remembering President Mugabe is an act of defiance. So if you didn't know where you were going to a defiance campaign. We are here defying them because they said we must never celebrate him. And like in a Mugabe style, we are defying them. We are here to celebrate him against their wishes. Many want to tell us not to celebrate President Mugabe, that we must speak badly of him even in his death. There are imperialists and racists today who want their heroes to be our heroes and their enemies to be our enemies. It is these people who celebrate murderers like de Klerk by giving them Nobel Peace Prizes. It is these people who name our streets, our schools after racists like Verwoerd and Malan. It is these racists who own our land and control our economy, who want to dictate to us who we must celebrate. Today we are here, inspired by President Mugabe, to tell them they can go to hell. We want to say to them, in the same style of President Mugabe, they can keep their de Klerk, we will keep our Mugabe. We want to tell them, those Rhodesians, they can keep their Ian Smith, we will keep our Mugabe. President Mugabe represents to us a hope that one can stand against the oppressor and live to tell a story of liberating his own people. The life of President Mugabe is an exciting life. The debt that we owe Mugabe is one who will never be able to repay. As a young revolutionaries in the continent, it is important, comrades, to know that President Mugabe was also young like all of us. Many elders in the revolution had a problem with President Mugabe. President Mugabe was impatient. President Mugabe wanted change, and he wanted change there and then. President Mugabe was amongst the giants, and therefore it will be incorrect to say you want to celebrate Nelson Mandela, but you can't celebrate President Mugabe. Because this President Mugabe went to school with O.R. Tambo, went to school with Nelson Mandela, went to school with Robert Sobukwe, went to school with Julius Nyerere. And therefore, it is this generation that represent a generation of fearless leaders who fought for our liberation. Now, if you are a non-thinker, you'll go around saying Sobukwe is a hero, Tambo is a hero, but Mugabe is not. Mugabe is a hero like all of those who belong to his generation. Mugabe loved education. Mugabe made education fashionable. It is Robert Mugabe who was well qualified. I mention this to you because we want to appeal amongst ourselves here as young people that we should make education fashionable. We should not only emulate Mugabe when it comes to defiance, but when it comes to discipline and education, we want to emulate the chief whip of DA. We shouldn't do that. We must follow the teachings of Robert Mugabe to the end. Mugabe was a soldier too. It doesn't mean when you are a soldier, you can't learn. It doesn't mean when you are a ground force, you can't go to school. You have to go to school, come back, do your work on the ground. Comrades, Mugabe went to school here in the Eastern Cape at the University of Fort Hare. He was shaped here. He started his politics here. And we are very proud as South Africans to claim Mugabe as one of our own. His appetite to learn, his vibrancy, his militancy, he got it from South African politics. In Mozambique, Samora Machel knows Robert Mugabe, the radical, because we shaped him as South Africa. Therefore, you can't say now that you don't know him because the whites say you shouldn't know him. If Mugabe is a factory fault, South Africa, you must take a collective responsibility because you are the ones who taught him politics. The Soviet Union knows Mugabe. China knows Mugabe. USA knows Mugabe. Mugabe is known all over the world and all over the continent because South Africa taught him politics. And therefore, you must not see him as someone that comes far from us. You must see him as your neighbor. You must see him as your grandfather. You must see him as an old man that stood for nationalization, as an old man that stood for the independence of Africa, as an old man that stood for expropriation of land without compensation, as an old man that believed in black people. You must never be ashamed to associate with President Mugabe. He became what they describe him to be because they did not honor the Lancaster resolutions. Had they honored the Lancaster resolutions, President Mugabe would not have turned against them. He would have taken their money, used their money to buy land from Rhodesians and give it to Zimbabweans. Because you must learn a simple thing, Comrade Chair, that they are Rhodosians and they are Zimbabweans. If you don't know who are the Rhodosians, you must ask. They left Zimbabwe. They are here, causing trouble here in South Africa. They came here because South Africa is led by cowards who were supposed to join the struggle for land. Mozambique was supposed to do the same. Namibia was supposed to do the same. Swaziland should have done the same. Lesotho, Botswana. So that these Rhodosians have got nowhere to go but to adjust to the new conditions of where they find themselves. And those conditions will be that black people are now owning the economy of Southern Africa. No revolution can succeed in isolation. The Southern African people failed President Mugabe by refusing to join his struggle of expropriating land without compensation. Mugabe was educated. Mugabe had all the reasons to live his life with his family. He was a teacher. He went to teach at his village. He came back to teach in Harare, went to teach outside Zimbabwe. He could have stayed in Ghana and enjoyed the freedoms of Ghana. But a true liberator knows that it is not about my personal comfort. It is about my people. Even if I'm comfortable, even if I can be hired anywhere, including in the Harvard University, I will never take those opportunities for as long as my people still live under oppression. That's what President Mugabe did. President Mugabe did not join the struggle because he was unemployed. He didn't join the struggle because he could not get a job anywhere. He was employed. He could become anything he wanted. Many people sit in the comfort corners. Today, many even sit on their phone to talk rubbish about those who have accepted leadership responsibilities. They say all manner of things about people who have accepted to challenge the establishment. Something they themselves cannot do. And they think we came to lead because we have nothing to do. It is incorrect to describe President Mugabe as if he was a political opportunist. He was never a political opportunist. He was a guerrilla in a guerrilla war. He fought Ian Smith soldiers and defeated them. That's why Zimbabweans today, they speak freely. You can say whatever nonsense you want to say about them. Theirs, they got it through a barrel of a gun. Yours was negotiated. That's why you can't move from the sunset clauses. Today you say Zimbabwe is in trouble and the trouble of Zimbabwe is caused by Mugabe. It's not true. Who caused the problem of Syria? Who caused the problem of Libya? Who's causing the problem of Venezuela, Afghanistan, and Iraq? All those problems were caused by Mugabe. Destabilizing those countries were caused by Mugabe. What is common with all these countries, including Zimbabwe, is the fact that imperialism intervened. And we always know that when imperialism intervenes, it destabilizes countries, and those countries never recover from imperialist intervention. That's what Zimbabwe is suffering from. When they took their land, when they took their economy, the imperialists imposed sanctions on them. We challenge imperialism, lift the sanctions, and let's see if black people will never run a successful economy. Let the black Zimbabweans fail on their own without imperialism sanctions. We want the sanctions in Zimbabwe removed. I want to tell you now that one day when those sanctions are removed, some of you who are beating up Zimbabweans here, some of you who are hating on Zimbabweans here, you are going to work for them. They will be owning their mines. They will be owning their retail. They will be owning their banks. They will be owning their land. You call them foreigners. What is the definition of a foreigner? A foreigner is a person who comes into your country without papers, doesn't have anything to show. That includes you. You are foreigners because you have nothing to show. You go around claiming this is your country. Let's go outside. Show me papers that confirms you are the owner of this country. There's nothing. You don't own anything. Yet you call people foreigners. You are a foreigner yourself because you do not own. Foreigners means visitors. Visitors are people who just come empty-handed with a small bag. When the time permits, they go. That's you. You are renting. You are marching from the hostels, beating up people that they must leave South Africa. Yet you do not own a hostel. You are paying a rent in that hostel. You can be removed yourself from that hostel. You are telling people to leave your country. You come from an apartment. You come from a flat. You come from a house. You have no paper. When you return back home after taking out Zimbabweans, the white man will be at the door showing you the way out of the rented flat, out of the rented house, out of the rented apartment. You have nothing to show. Yet you claim this is your country. You have nothing. You are defending a white man's property. This South Africa is owned by a white man. This South Africa is controlled by the white man. Don't tell me this is your country. When people are burning buildings, you are rushing protecting them. Those are not your buildings. Those are white man's buildings. You have nothing. Stop hating on your future employers. These people are going to hire you. They are the most polite people. Even when they are educated, they still work for small jobs that pay nothing. They don't have pride. They know that you have to work to serve and feed your families. That's why they are here. One day, like it almost happened in Cuba, when Obama wanted to lift the embargo against Cuba, one day it is going to happen. I pray to the ancestors of the revolution that it happens when I'm still alive, so that I can replay these videos and say, I warned you about harassing your future employers. I warned you about exploiting the people who are going to share their land with you because they've done it before. Why didn't Mugabe take the land immediately? He waited for you to get your freedom. Because had Mugabe take the land immediately, it would have caused a serious problem to a point where South Africa will not be liberated. They were a frontline state. They gave us a passage. They accommodated us. We stayed in their homes. They gave us food. They gave us shelter. They never called us names. Today it's our turn to say thank you. We become animals. It is not the spirit of Ubuntu what you are doing to these comrades of Zimbabwe. Comrades, the white people, the way they control us, we love them and we say they give us jobs. But the way they've made us to hate each other, even if a Nigerian was to come here and create 100,000 jobs, you will still beat that Nigerian because you want 100,000 jobs provided by a white man. When it is a job provided by a black man, it's not a job enough. They've instilled in you a culture of self-hate. You lack confidence in black people because you are not confident yourself. So, it is not correct that all Nigerians are drug dealers. They are Nigerian drug dealers. We must find them. We must deal with them decisively. We must isolate them. We must isolate them and teach them a lesson which they will never forget, so that they don't leave South Africa to go and try it somewhere else, particularly in the African continent. We do not dispute that there are drug lords from Nigeria, but not all Nigerians are drug lords. You know the drug lords, bloody coward. You are scared of them. You don't say to us, EFF, here are the names of the drug lords who have opened cases. Here are the case numbers. We will go and fetch the Nigerian drug lords. We are not scared of them. A Nigerian drug lord is not a black person. He's not even a Nigerian. He's a non-white. Anyone who feeds drugs on our children, you have denied your status of blackness. Because black people do not do wrong things. We don't feed each other poisons. We protect each other. So anyone, whether you are a Nigerian, whether you are a South African in El Dorado Park, it doesn't matter. Drugs is drugs. They know no nationality. It doesn't mean when a drug is supplied by a Nigerian, it's more powerful than the one that is supplied by a South African. It remains a drug. It is illegal. It must be punished. But no one is going to brush all Nigerians with the same brush. The banks in Nigeria are owned by black Nigerians. They own properties. Nigerians in that entertainment industry, they are not competing with South Africa. They are competing with America. When you see a Nigerian artist, when you see a music video of a Nigerian, you will mistaken it for Americans. They are moving. You are busy with machete. People are working on themselves. People are beginning to appreciate that there is nothing better about America. Africa is more beautiful and more richer than America. Even here in Africa, we can do it. There are no borders in South Africa, in Africa. There are no borders. Some of you say, no, President, leave this thing of borders. The other one even sent me a message that, President, can we get a secret ballot on borders? If you are not a dictator, make us members to vote if we want borders or not. But the reality is, there are no borders. You want me to give you a ballot paper to vote on whether you want imperialism or not. Yet you joined an anti-imperialist organization. Everything that reflects imperialism, we reject it in totality. We don't want to see it. We can't vote about that. It's not open for discussion. There are no borders in Africa. These borders were imposed by imperialism. And we are not going to recognize them. These are our neighbors. What divides us is a fence. What divides us is a street. Just cross the street and come and ask for a salt. Just cross the street and come and ask for meal. That's how we grew up here in Soweto. We never said you are not from here, we can't give you a meal. You are never from here, we can't give you a salt. This thing that you look at as countries, they are as simple as narrow, like neighborhood. These are our neighbors. They are not Zimbabweans. The same way, there will be the Ndlozi family this side, there will be Malema family this side. This is a South Africa family, that's a Zimbabwe family. We are divided by a fence. You don't have a salt, come and fetch the salt in bags. You don't have meal, come and fetch meal, because that's what we did. We gave you meal, because we know one day we'll run short of meal, and I will not come. My child will come and say, my father said, you remember the meal. You must return. That's how we are as Africans. When they are here, it is our turn to protect them. Their turn will come. When we go to Zimbabwe, we'll just say to them, you remember us. Because we are neighbors. Comrades, there is no one who's going to tell us how we should unite this continent of Africa. No white man is going to do that. No white man. Look at what they did in Libya. I was in the ANC when they went to attack Libya. I stood up and told Zuma that you have sold out Gaddafi. And Gaddafi gave you money to be a president of the ANC. Because you voted for no-fly zone. And they used that to attack Gaddafi. And when they were attacking Gaddafi, the white people came to us and said, oh, what was he doing to his people? He was killing his own people. That's fine. Gaddafi is gone now. What are you doing to his people? What are you doing to... They've never provided solution anywhere. All they do is to disrupt. You listen to them in Libya, they said Gaddafi was a murderer, a man who gave people land, a man who gave people free education, free health care, looked after his own. We were told that is an enemy. We will never be told in the EFF who our enemies are. We will know who our enemies are. And enemies are those who are refusing to return their stolen property. And they will be regarded as such until they return the stolen property. When I was in Zimbabwe with these comrades are senior. They are extremely senior in Zim. When I was in Zimbabwe, it was during that time when I was going through the court of Dubuli Buni song. And the DC of the ANC. In the 4-eye discussion I had with President Mugabe was, Chief, if you don't want to go home, because these people are ill-treating you, you can stay here. You can stay here and there is no ANC that will tell me to return you back to South Africa. They will never tell me that. Because they are hosting a lot of criminals there from Zimbabwe, and I'm looking for those criminals. They are refusing with them. They will never. You comrades can stay here and you can wage your struggle from here. And he was always ready and available to advise. And of course, at the end, we told Tyson and them that President Mugabe must retire because he was too old. And we don't want presidents that leave their office with a coffin. And we had not wanted President Mugabe to live in a manner they did to him. But leaving was non-negotiable. We spoke with Tyson and them. Even when those ones started that mess, I said to Tyson, why can't we negotiate? We take President Mugabe to come to South Africa. I even called President Zuma, the enemy. And I said to him, Chief, let's put aside our differences. Can you make a call for the old men to come this side? Because we were worried they were going to kill the old man. We wanted to save him. We had a revolutionary duty to save him. And you know we're dealing with a stubborn old man who said, I'm going to die here and I will be buried here. This comrade Tyson, his house was shot at with live ammunition. We can't even count. Inside the house, there were children and the wife. They were ready to kill them. This comrade is a nephew of President Mugabe. His mother and President Mugabe, they are siblings. He can't go and bury President Mugabe because he's wanted in Zimbabwe. We call upon Mnangagwa and his regime to do the right thing and allow this comrade to go back and bury his own uncle. And if they don't want him, he will come back. We will receive him here in South Africa. Not all the time, but sometimes the apartheid regime used to release prisoners to go and bury their loved ones. Is Mnangagwa regime worse than apartheid? Why can't Mnangagwa release a statement that says all those who have worked with President Mugabe, who are facing this or that charge for the purpose of this funeral, you are all welcomed? Some form of immunity, so that these people go and bid farewell to the man they lived with, a man who brought them up, a man who looked after them, a man who wanted them to succeed him. It was logical for Tyson to succeed President Mugabe. If Tyson can't succeed President Mugabe, what is the purpose of having the Youth League? Because the Youth League is the training ground to prepare the second and third layer leadership for the mother body. Why is Mnangagwa and crew threatened by the youth? Anyone that is scared of the young, you must know that person is not for progress. Because if you want progress, you will be with the youth and you will always support the youth. You will never be threatened by the youth. We are making an appeal that these comrades must be allowed to go and bury one of their own. We must put aside the political differences. There is no nonsense of the charges they are facing here. Those are concocted charges. That is political persecution, because you are threatened by the youth. I know what you are going through. I went through that myself. I'm going through that myself now. They wanted to arrest me. They actually arrested me. They arrested me. They took everything I had, threw my children to the streets, left me with nothing, because theirs was to break my spirit. They are still trying even now. So I understand deeply what you are going through. To wake up in the morning and your own comrades turn against you. There is nothing wrong with you wanting Mugabe to stay. There is nothing wrong with them wanting Mugabe to go. It's a political differences. It must be resolved politically, not through the abuse of state power. Comrades, we must make sure that we defend our revolution against the imperialist forces. Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, they are leading the charge against all progressive forces. The racists are in power and they make no apology about it. And then you go around apologizing for them. You go around justifying it for them. They make no apology. A white journalist called me pussy in Pretoria there, right? All white journalists and all white leading personalities came in defense of that guy. But if it was you who had said to Helen Zille the same weight, the black people would have joined Helen Zille and them to get you fired and arrested. But when it comes to the descendants of Jan van Riebeeck, they unite. DJ Fresh is fired for saying such words. Many other people, black journalists and radio people, were fired for saying almost the same thing. This one says the same thing. He doesn't apologize. The organization apologizes on his behalf. And black people see nothing wrong. Don't be impatient with them. We ought to tell them they are fools, but we must not write them off because we are in the business of liberating the mind. The oppressor is still in the position of their mind. And our struggle is to go and fetch the brain of the 702 blacks. We're going to fetch it and come and restore it one by one. We will get there. We will get there. Don't worry. Comrades, when it comes to whiteness, when it comes to white supremacy, they unite. But when it comes to black people, black consciousness, we do not unite. Even on obvious things. But what was he doing? Whites are not like that. You know, black people, they are provocative. He must have done something wrong. So, comrades, we must unite as black people against white supremacy, against imperialism, against colonialism, which continues to dehumanize black people because of the color of their skin. We need the unity of Africa. It is important because colonialism and imperialism thrives in Africa through the divisions they've created through the so-called borders. That's why they say to you all the time, you can't remove the borders. You can't remove the borders. They know the day you remove the borders, you are going to unite. And united Africa is a defeat against white supremacy, against colonialism, against imperialism. We are in a war here. Remontoing realwa. If you think we are playing, you must stand aside. This is just the beginning. Things are going to be tough. And fighters, you must be prepared. When you fight Pravin Gordhan, you must be prepared. The man uses the same modus operandi. They make sure they discredit anyone they fight against. They make you look corrupt. They destroy your image in front of the people. So that when they come to deal with you, society will isolate you. They did that in the 80s. The Indian cabal did that. Created Winnie a monster. Created Peter Mugabe a monster. They did that with Krisani. They did that with everybody they disagreed with. That this one is a sellout. This one is reckless. This one is an unnecessary radical. They destroyed Heri Gwala, the Indian cabal. They do that. This Amabungane thing, when you see it, you jump. It's the same modus operandi. That time they were not using Amabungan. They were using City Press. It was coming the same way. It is Stratcom. That's how it works. When it starts like that, like they did this week, you must know it will never stop. Praveen operates like that. No, you own this, you own that, you are hiding this, you are hiding that. Before you know it, it brings SARS. Before you know it, they destroy you, have nothing. Everybody, yeah, no, it's possible. Yeah, we have seen. Yeah, VBS. Ebana, VBS. In VBS, 2 billion. 2 billion gone. Ugari yile nakamagana no. Ugari yile charity VBS. 2 billion ekamagari yile. The ANC people are nowhere. Badiang, balata, smamatana, sesamudimu baregi zuma. Barboch yang Nkandla. They know they can't take Nkandla. Because Nkandla is built on a Ngonyama Trust's land. And the land does not belong to Zuma. It belongs to the king. So they just want to pretend like they are on course. They are not just coming for EFF. They go to Zuma, Zuma. And then they are dealing with everybody. When they come here, they go for a kill. When you try to speak Barbara, even Zuma. Where are the people who took 2 billion of VBS? Where are the people who took 2 billion of VBS? Repela Brian Shibam. Did the toilet paper didn't want to Brian Shibam. Repala look at toilet. Brian Shibam. Where are the people who took 2 billion? What are you doing to them? Those are ANC criminals. I told Ramaphosa on his face there in Parliament. As our VBS when the people who stole VBS money, 99.99%, came out Kodua. But on a low and only Kodu to Cheltabu, Sasa, Levera fella, bloody fool, Jamal Kodu. Same thing. Now, Polifan Veig has done diagrams about how money came in Gamega, Mahuna, Malema. Right? We are still to see a diagram of 1 billion which went into CR17 money account. Where is the diagram? Up in Nabile, they even did a video. Malema, on YouTube, I've got a Wi-Fi where I stay. I was putting it there. He put 5,000 here, 500. I was dancing here, 500. Nando's. Barg regularly got speed ticket to regala Costa. Samagia paradia parajabum puisenity la Costa. Let's go and say Yamodi la Costa, man. Please. Lady Cavella, Jabum puisin. Regraduated the Cavella area Paragua Cosas. When we're still in Cos. Kesaishwa Cosa, Cavell, Nando's, Ujile Nando's. Kur kam khoba nyaka ba ngwala lore ke phupurile le marapo ke yile Nando's ka phupura le marapo ba nyaka everything abantisi. But you must know that I do not have a sleepless night, because when I see a white man after me, it means I'm hitting hard, and the white man is feeling the pain. It means I'm getting under the skin of a white man, and I will never retreat. Right anyhow you want. I don't take you serious. Ugogo was a Elias Mutwale, the squatter camp, doesn't know what is Mabunga. When you arrive at squatter camp, right? Bar Malema ujile chelete ko Maverick, daily Maverick. Mohakulur. Ke mayana Maverick o we wa welela ka ngwana rena sele Ramon. Our people will never be told by Daily Maverick and Amabungan who their leaders are. Our people know their leaders. Amabungan and Daily Maverick and Scorpio Mbwisen, they are not a newspaper. They are a gang, they are not a media house. They are a gangster formed to pursue the interest of Pravin Gordhan. And as a result, in this memorial service of Gabriel Robert Mugabe, we declare them as an enemy of the revolution. And they should never participate in our events. They should never answer any question from Amabungan, from Daily Maverick, from Scorpio. Let them write any nonsense they want to write about us. We know who writes their question. It's Pravin. It's Pravin. If you want to know how Pravin operates, go and read the book, How to Steal a City. They wrote about PE. He deployed a woman there to go and fix that PE. That woman writes about how Pravin used to guide her in detail. No, ask this, go here, do this. That's what they are doing. Pravin is the one who went to meet with Judge Nugent to prepare the commission against Moyan. The judge never spoke about it. Pravin never spoke about it. Only when the story leaked, then they confirmed. If the story had not leaked, we will never know. We're not going to know that Nugent met Pravin. If Pravin can meet a judge, who's a journalist? The whole judge. Who's a journalist of Mabungan? Who's a journalist of Scorpio? They are the same. The pattern is the same. Let us treat Amabungan, Scorpio, Daily Maverick the same way we treated ANN7 and New Age. They are the same. They are anti-us, and we shall treat them as enemies. Anyone who wants to go into solidarity with them in the media houses, you are more than welcome. Anyway, we are not getting any coverage. It's not coverage you are giving us. It's nonsense. I go to the Hawks. I go to the Hawks. I cooperate with the Hawks. I go there. They read the rights to me. And then they say one of the rights you have is you have a right to remain silent. I use that. I say, okay, I'm choosing the right to remain silent. The ENCA goes and report and say, Malema refuses to sign a statement. And then you call that a coverage. It's an absolute rubbish. It's nonsense. They don't say Malema used his constitutional right to remain silent. It's a constitutional thing. It's not reserved for others. I deserve it too. Malema refuses to sign a statement. When I say you don't give us coverage, they're going to say, we give you coverage. That's not coverage. It's a propaganda that is aiming at destroying the EFF. You must study this thing of media. How they write about you, they use certain words to project you a monster. When they want to, even the color on TV, they don't just make us look beautiful. They can just say, no, darken it, darken a bit. Make him dark. So that you come across as a monster, as a potential gangster. And then they make the ugliest, Pravini the ugliest, the most beautiful. Bona Cyril, they make Cyril the most beautiful. With that nose, the most beautiful. And then they make us ugly. They make it dark. Is there a way of increasing of making the eyes red or something. Yeah. Okare is on samunyaupe. Comrades, it's not a joke. They do that if they don't like you. When they come to a function like this, where there are masses, and they realize it is successful, they don't show the masses. They only show Julius Malema so that no one sees that there were masses coming to honor Robert Mugabe. Whether they televise it or not, we've been taught long time ago that revolution will never be televised. We must never rely on the media to wage a revolution. We must rely on the ground. We must go door to door. We must do person to person. We must go to our communities. We must spread our message. We must be rooted amongst our people. House by house, hostel by hostel, brick by brick. We shall speak to our people directly. Our people will get our message. We don't need the go in between because they distort what we stand for. We are children of Robert Mugabe. We are children of Winnie Mandela. We are children of Muammar Gaddafi. We are children of Thomas Sankara. Children of Julius Nyerere. We are children of the giants. We are not children of cowards. We are not children of criminals that go around the world stealing people's properties. We remained here with our forefathers looking after ourselves before the arrival of a white man. We can still do it. We have only ourselves. We have nowhere to go. Africa is our home and it is the only home we have. Comrades, let's protect it because without Africa, we will be slaves somewhere else. If we destroy this continent, wherever we go, we'll be treated as rejects. This is our continent. Whether they like it or not, we will honor and protect the legacy of President Mugabe. His legacy is a legacy of defiance, a legacy of liberation, a legacy of economic freedom, a legacy of expropriating land without compensation, a legacy of facing the imperialist and telling the imperialist to go to hell, a legacy that says, I'm an African, I am black, and I'm proud. Never be ashamed of who you are. Your conditions shape who you are. And you are going to use those conditions to liberate yourself. Zimbabwe, we are with you. You are not alone. The Mugabe family, we are with you. You are not alone. We will see this thing through together because as Africans, we look after one another. Give the old man a dignified funeral. Whatever the differences you have, please put them aside. Let us bury the old man in a dignified way. Because if it becomes disastrous, if it becomes anarchy, the enemy will be happy. Like they wanted anarchy at Winnie Mandela Stadium, they didn't get it. They got a dignified send-off. And I trust you, Zimbabweans, that on Saturday and Sunday, you will do the right thing. Let the old man rest in permanent peace, permanent power, because those of us who are remaining will continue his legacy. Rest in peace, President Mugabe. Amandla! Amandla! Viva EFF, viva! Ayule EFF, ayule! Tata EFF, tata! Long live the fighting spirit of Robert Mugabe, long live! Long live the fighting spirit of Robert Mugabe, long live! How Robert Mugabe, Mugabe, Robert Mugabe, how Robert Mugabe, swana naye. Aona ya swana naye. Hauliwe na wamona.